to Pediatric Grand Rounds. This is a new academic year, and although we're going to keep having Grand Rounds virtual, and I know it works for a lot of people, and there are a lot of people on WebEx right now, and thank you for being here. We also are starting to have, and the times when we have in-person Grand Rounds, so check the calendar, but in the times we have in-person Grand Rounds, starting now, we're going to start having food and coffee, and we welcome our new residents who just started, I think, on Monday. So thanks so much for everyone for being here. We love you. Look, oh my gosh, it's an all-star cast in the room today. So if you're watching on WebEx, you're missing out on some all-stars here. So just the usual reminders, and I'm Suzanne Mazer. I am one of the ER docs, and I'm in charge of Grand Rounds and the director of CME. But I'm not going to talk for very long. I just wanted to welcome everyone to Pediatric Grand Rounds. Remember, if you are joining us by WebEx, please make sure that you're muted and your camera's off if you want to be, if you want it to be off. And if you have questions or comments for our speakers at any time during this presentation, feel free to write them into the chat box. I'm going to be monitoring the chat so I can ask them to our speakers during the Q&A at the end of the hour. And just finally, a disclosure from the Planning Committee for Grand Rounds, which is me and some other great folks. We have no relevant financial relationships to disclose. And from here, I will turn things over to Dr. Abby Grant and Dr. Kathy Park, who will introduce our speakers and the rest of our presentation. Thank you so much. Everyone's fine.
Good morning. My name is Abby Grant, and I'm a general pediatrician at the University of Washington Harborview Pediatric Clinic and have had the privilege of working there for the past 9 years. Thank you for being here and for your time and for the opportunity to share more about our collaborative work. This presentation represents the wisdom and experience of many and what we have learned and continue to learn from families and communities. Our team has no financial disclosures. We would like to thank our funders who have supported and believed in this work. To start our presentation, I will introduce you to our team. We represent 3 medical homes: the Harborview Pediatric Clinic, the Odessa Brown Children's Clinic, and CMAR's Seattle Medical Clinic, and the community-based early childhood organization Child Haven, working together to transform pediatric care. Core to this transformation is that everyone on our team and every family we serve feels safe, seen, and valued. We will now share our story and our reflections on how we approach this.
Hi, I'm Rachel Dumanian, the Early Childhood Healthcare Integration Manager at Child Haven, the community-based organization in this innovative partnership.
Hi, I'm Sarah Wandler, Clinical Support Services Manager at Odessa Brown Children's Clinic, introducing the rest of the team from OBCC.
Hi, everyone. I'm Kathy Park, and I am one of the pediatricians.
Hi, everyone. My name is Jamila Jenkins, and I am one of the Early Childhood Developmental Navigators. Today, one of our words is safety, and safety serves as a fundamental cornerstone of this discussion and provides a critical foundation for all other aspects. This foundation of safety fosters authenticity, a sense of belonging, and ensures that families are protected from harm and are provided with the supports necessary to thrive and flourish.
I'm Daisy Vexen, Early Childhood Developmental Navigator at Harborview Pediatric Clinic, introducing the team.
I'm Abby Grant, a pediatrician.
Hi, my name is Farhiya. I'm also a Childhood Developmental Navigator, and our statement for today is seen. We ensure families feel seen by ensuring their voices are being heard within the healthcare setting, by supporting them within the community connection and resource being connected.
We are the team from CMAR Medical Clinic in South Park. My name is Maria. I'm an Early Childhood Developmental Navigator.
Hi, and I'm Christina Pease, a pediatrician here. I am Yesenia Martin, a navigator. Working in a system that puts value on productivity, it is transformational to be a part of a team that values connection and being present with each other. This validation allows us to provide compassionate care to our families.
It is estimated that only 10% of children with delays are identified and then receive services. Gaps in gaps in access disproportionately affect marginalized communities. For example, children living in a household where the preferred language is not English were 40% less likely than those living in an English primary language household to have received developmental screening in the past year. When we looked at how we were doing at Harborview, our developmental screening rate was around 20%, and we were only successfully connecting to early intervention services for around 41% of children. When we think about a family's typical experience with screening and referrals in many primary care settings, it becomes clear where our care contributes to these inequities. A family is often handed a paper form in English with little explanation or context. The questions are culturally limited and deficit-focused. Is there something wrong with your child? The concept of developmental milestones or screening may not be familiar to the family. Frequently, the results of the screening are not explained in a way that recognizes the existing stigma around developmental delay and behavioral health disorders. When a concern is identified, a referral is then made. Families are not always involved in this decision-making process in a way that values their priorities or allows them to involve other members of their extended family. Referral processes across clinics vary or may not exist at all. It is challenging to identify the appropriate organization. Families are often handed a list of phone numbers to call, leaving them with the overwhelming task of identifying a program their child needs on their own. Once connected to a program, the family enters a whole system that is difficult to navigate, with numerous barriers just to get evaluated for services. Duplicate screenings, cumbersome application forms, lack of interpretation, and long wait lists. Not surprisingly, there are huge inequities and delays in diagnosis, referrals, and receipt of early intervention and autism services. So how can we do things differently? We started by listening to and learning from families about their current experience with developmental screening and connection to services through caregiver listening sessions. We worked with a team with the support of the Somali Health Board to culturally adapt and translate a screening tool, the Survey of Wellbeing of Young Children. Over time, we expanded from focusing specifically on developmental screening. We recognize the need for a more holistic approach to actually support families, and in particular, supporting the early child caregiver relationship. We recognize working in silos is ineffective and is harming families. So we worked in partnership with the community-based organization Child Haven and co-created this program. Core to our work and the start of the journey of care transformation is relationships. Supporting relationships between parents and their children, relationships between the care team and families, within our team, and with our community partner. With this in mind, our early relational health program across our clinic strives to support strong, positive, and nurturing child caregiver relationships by building upon strengths and partnering with families to identify and support developmental, behavioral, and social needs. I would like to share with you the emerging definition of early relational health. Early relational health is the state of emotional well-being that grows from the positive emotional connection between babies and toddlers and their parents when they experience strong, positive, and nurturing relationships with each other. Early relational health is foundational to children's healthy growth and development and their parents' sense of competence, connection, and overall well-being. These resilient and enduring relationships also help to protect the family from the harmful effects of stress. To share more about our early relational health program, I will now introduce Daisy Vexen. Daisy is an early childhood developmental navigator serving families at Harborview. We currently have 2 navigators at each of our 3 clinic sites. The navigator role was developed as a core part of care transformation. Daisy will now share how our program and the navigators focus on building relationships with families to support early childhood.
Hello, I'm Daisy Vexen. I am the Family Navigator at Harborview. To introduce myself a little, I have a background in medicine, and now I am currently pursuing my master's at social work. So as an early childhood developmental navigator, there are different areas that we really try to serve families. We try to build relationships over time, celebrate and build upon strengths, support social, emotional, behavioral health from the beginning, identify needs. Parents must be partners in identifying these unmet needs. When these needs are identified, we provide meaningful support through connection to services, and we also reflect with the family's language and/or culture. Through our encounters with families, we want caregivers to feel trusted in making best choices for their families, supported in raising their children, connected to our team, valued and respected. Building these relationships with the family, we do this through supporting the families in different ways. We universally connect with the families from 2 months to 5 years prior to their wellness visit and their new visit. We maintain continuity with the same child and family. For most families, this means having 14 different visits during the first 5 years. These encounters allow us to have opportunities during the first 5 years to build trusting relationships over time, support social, emotional, and developmental health from the early stages, practice cultural humility, and support families and caregivers while having families take the lead. With having this approach of families taking the lead, we believe that relationships are built in a strength-based form, trusting that parents are making the best choices for their children. We are responsive to a family's priorities and accessible when they need support. We notice all things parents are doing with their children, and we point this out to caregivers. We celebrate developmental progress, and the navigators across our sites are multicultural and multilingual. Screening and identification. In order to screen and identify needs, we reach out to families before their wellness visit or their new visit. At Harborview, we use the Survey of Wellbeing of Young Children, also known as the SWIC. The questions are simple, short, and cover different areas, including development, social emotional behavior, family stressors, emotional changes with a baby, family tension, and this provides us the opportunity to identify needs in these areas when parents or caregivers feel comfortable to share it with us. As opposed to traditional screenings, the SWIC and how we administer it is more in a verbal back and forth conversation. This really gives us the opportunity to provide cultural adaptation, and we also have the opportunity to ensure that the caregivers and parents are understanding the meanings of the questions. We share the results with the families, and we also share the results with the providers before the visit. As I said, once these needs are identified, we strive to provide meaningful support. Once we share the needs with the families and we share the needs with the providers, we are able to also share information about available support services. We listen to the parents and caregivers. We respect and support their decisions to be connected to services. This can also include connections to social work and different community resources. We create a space for families to share their concerns, and we do acknowledge the stigma that still exists that's related to developmental, behavioral, and social concerns. When families desire these services, we're able to provide warm handoffs, and then we're able to focus on case management to ensure meaningful connections to early childhood services, including early intervention, which is designed for 0 to 3, and child time, which is designed for children 3 to 5. The case management factor of this process is including direct referrals, following up with the families and agencies to overcome barriers and challenges that can be seen or identified when trying to access these services for the family. The navigators across the sites are trained in promoting first relationships, also known as PFR. It is an evidence-based program that focuses on supporting responsive caregiving. So as we're working with PFR, we're able to support the care team. By doing this, we notice the caregiver and child's relationship and what is going well in this relationship. We are able to provide positive and specific feedback to in that moment to the caregiver and the parents. And we are also able to offer anticipatory guidance about social emotional development. And this ultimately helps parents and caregivers understand and support their child's development. Next, we're excited to present a video from one of the parents, Brisa Martinez Lucero. She's a mother who participated in our Developmental Navigator program. Brisa's story will show invaluable insight into our program's efforts to break down barriers for culturally and ethically diverse families and communities. In the video, Brisa will share her personal experience working with our navigators. In the video, she refers to Fernanda. She is the navigator that worked with her at the time. Her firsthand account offers a powerful testament to the impact and effectiveness of our program. We're going to hear directly from Brisa and her transformative experience, and then we will hear from our other family navigator, Jamila Jenkins.
Es muy diferente tener una persona especialista en desarrollo infantil haciendo las preguntas y respondiendo a inquietudes.
It is very different to have a child development specialist asking the questions and answering to your concerns.
A que a uno le dé un formulario y uno lo complete solo.
Opposed to just be given a form and you have to fill it out on your own.
Antes del programa, yo completaba un formulario, pero no sentía que había un seguimiento al respecto. Es decir, nadie me decía si los resultados eran normales.
Well, before the program, I would fill out the forms on my own, but I didn't feel that there was a follow-up on it. And what I mean is no one would tell me if the results were normal.
O qué cosas le faltaban a mi niño por hacer y tampoco había una persona para hacerle preguntas.
Or what my child was missing on what he should be doing or she should be doing. And there was also no one to ask questions.
A mí me daba vergüenza preguntar acerca del tema porque soy tímida y no hablo inglés.
I was embarrassed to ask about it because I am shy and because I don't speak English.
Entonces me quedaba yo con la duda y no podía hacer más preguntas porque a veces los intérpretes no dicen lo que uno intenta decir.
And then I was left with my questions. And because sometimes I couldn't ask more because the interpreters don't always translate what we're trying to say.
Con la navegadora de familia hay una mejor comunicación porque ella habla mi mismo idioma y la comunicación es más fácil.
With the Family Navigator, there's better communication because she speaks my language and communication is easier.
Así que entiendo mejor el propósito del formulario y puedo hacer preguntas también.
So I understand the purpose of the form better and I can also ask questions.
Algunas veces si necesito comunicarme con la clínica y no me contestan o si necesito algún otro servicio y no sé cómo conseguirlo.
Sometimes when I need to contact the clinic and they don't answer, or if I need some other service and I don't know how to get it,
me comunico con Fernanda y ella me ayuda a contactar a la persona que me pueda ayudar, como por ejemplo la trabajadora social, o me da información al respecto.
Or I contact Fernanda and she helps me contact the person who can help me, such as a social worker, or she'll give me the information about it.
Es muy diferente.
Brisa's video exemplifies how our partnership is driving transformation of healthcare to become more patient-centered. My name again is Jamila Jenkins, and I serve as a developmental navigator in our partnership, providing dedicated support to families at the Odessa Brown Children's Clinic. I initially joined this collaboration as an employee of Child Haven, thanks to generous support of grant funding. And as our project has flourished and achieved remarkable success, I'm now thrilled to be a part of Seattle Children's, where I am able to continue to contribute to our shared mission of transforming healthcare for families. In our quest to transform healthcare for families with children, collaboration is key. And through this, Child Haven has emerged as an exceptional community partner dedicated to enhancing the well-being of children and families. Their unwavering dedication and collaboration have played a pivotal role in uniting a diverse group of individuals who share a common goal of revolutionizing healthcare. Our shared mission to support children and families has aligned our partnership with Child Haven. And Child Haven, a nonprofit organization based in Seattle, Washington, has been a part of this partnership due to their exceptional commitment to supporting children and families. With their expertise and experience, Child Haven has become an invaluable asset to our collaborative mission. Child Haven offers a diverse range of programs that exemplify their commitment to meeting families where they are and promoting their overall well-being in various aspects of life. One of their notable programs is their WISE program, Wraparound with Intensive Services, which provides holistic support and targeted support to children aged birth to 6 with significant social, emotional, or behavioral needs. Guided by an infant and early childhood mental health framework, this program prioritizes nurturing children's primary relationships with their home and early learning environments to create personalized support plans aligned with families' goals. Another valuable resource that Child Haven brings to this partnership is their Kaleidoscope Play and Learn groups, which offer community-based support and engagement for families with newborns to 5 years old. These groups help to foster a nurturing environment where caregivers and children can engage in play and learning activities, create connection, and promote early childhood development. These playgroups serve as a vital resource to help families connect, grow, build a strong sense of community. Child Haven also actively engages in various collaborative partnerships to provide additional programs, support, and resources to children and families in need. With Child Haven as this key contributor to our partnership, we are working towards a future where every child and family can have the access to health care and support that they need. By prioritizing early childhood development, implementing trauma-informed care practices, and fostering a resilient community, we are paving a way for a brighter and healthier future for all. Together, our partnership hopes to make a significant impact on the well-being and growth of children and families, ensuring that they have the resources necessary for lifelong success. Being a developmental navigator in this innovative partnership has not only influenced my professional journey, but has really helped instill a deep sense of purpose, fulfillment, and excitement for me. And what truly stands out to me is the collaborative and inclusive environment that we have cultivated in our partnership. And as a team, we have created a space where everyone's voice is not only heard, but respected and valued. This collaborative approach allows us to leverage our diverse expertise and perspectives within our team so we can provide comprehensive patient-centered care. One of the fundamental principles guiding our partnership is the establishment of a safe and supportive environment that empowers our team members to freely express their thoughts, concerns, and innovative ideas. Through this open dialogue and collective efforts, I feel like we're actively working towards building bridges of understanding, fostering meaningful change, and cultivating a more inclusive and supportive community for all. Another aspect that deeply resonates with me in this partnership is our shared commitment to decision-making and continuous learning. We actively collaborate and exchange knowledge, skills, and best practices to constantly enrich our collective understanding. Through this partnership, my colleagues and I have had many chances to participate in trainings and community discussions on how to support families with young children, and through this collaborative process, we are ensuring that the services that we're providing are culturally, ethnically, and linguistically relevant. By tapping into this collective expertise and knowledge of our partners, we ensure that every family receives personalized care that is sensitive to their unique cultural backgrounds and needs. Our commitment to community partnerships and networking empowers this partnership to engage in meaningful work that directly influences early childhood policies and practices. It is a testament to our partnership that Fernanda Martinez-Novoa, the developmental navigator that was previously working with BRISA, continues to be a part of our partnership by joining the Pathways of Washington Fellowship. This fellowship offers participants a distinct platform to actively contribute to the advancement of early childhood policies and practices, empowering them to shape the future of early childhood development through their expertise and innovative ideas. And with Child Haven being a placement site for this fellowship, it highlights our commitment to promoting diverse voices in these early childhood policies and practices. I've also benefited from our partnership's dedication to continuous learning and professional development, and I'm truly grateful to have had the opportunity to enrich my role as a developmental navigator by pursuing my master's degree in public health. With this steadfast support of our partnership, I'm empowered to align my personal interest and professional aspirations to enable me to provide more meaningful contribution to our shared mission. Overall, being a part of this innovative and comprehensive community partnership is an incredibly fulfilling and enriching experience. and empowers us to make a positive impact on the lives of children and families, and our collective efforts and dedication of our team members make this partnership a beacon of hope and a driving force for positive change in our community. Now, I'll pass the floor to Kathy Park, a pediatrician at OBCC, to share how this innovative approach is transforming care and breaking down silos. Kathy, the floor is yours.
Thank you, Jamila. Hi, it's so nice to see you all here. I'm Kathy Park, and I am a primary care general pediatrician. I practice at the Odessa Brown Children's Clinic, and I have been there for over 20 years. And I consider myself very lucky to have been able to work with Jamila and this Navigator project for the last 2 years. I'm going to talk a little bit more about how this community partnered work feels really different and unique for us being in a medical home. This partnership between Child Haven and our 3 primary care clinics transforms traditional pediatric care by embedding early relational health practices right into our medical homes, which is where our families are coming and going. Each of our organizations brings their expertise and knowledge of our own unique communities to the project, and we have co-created a new model of care that we think better meets our families' needs. This design maximizes the level of engagement from informed to involved to truly co-led. And as with many things in life that are worth having, this type of partnering does take time and effort, and I want to share a few examples of the infrastructure that we have put in place to build and maintain this highly engaged community partnership. The onboarding and training of new navigators involves clinic-based training as well as cross-site training from folks that are outside our clinic but within our partnership. And topics might include early learning landscape training from folks at Child Haven, administering and talking to families about developmental screening from an OBCC navigator, learning about culturally responsive services and adaptations from a Harborview navigator, or an introduction to early relational health from Child Haven. We also create cross-site hiring teams when we hire new team members, and that includes parents and members from all of our sites. Our learning collaborative. It brings together Child Haven, our providers, our navigators from our 3 medical homes, and we meet twice a month. We use these meetings for problem solving, operational updates, or sharing resources across sites. We also bring in outside speakers that teach and share on a range of topics. For example, learning more about parent advocacy or the evidence base for a certain screening tool. We believe this highly engaged partnered work connects many dots, from healthcare to early learning to community resources, in a way that intentionally counters working in silos. Okay, so how is this a paradigm shift for families? So we can think of the illustration on the left as the before times. And like our little fish swimmy, our families were left to navigate an ocean of complicated and often scary obstacles, like sharks. Care was episodic, without support or connection happening in between visits. Families were on their own, and they were expected to navigate in convoluted and often oppressive systems. Providers often felt that we didn't have the knowledge or the capacity to help young children with behavioral or developmental concerns. But as a result of this community-partnered work, a new model of care has emerged, which looks more like the illustration on the right. And now our little fish swimmy is surrounded by support and takes on a new shape that collectively can better navigate complex waters. This new model of care is one that creates a culturally relevant team to coordinate support across systems for families. They are safe. It is one that puts families at the center. They are seen. And it's one in which relationships are the critical building block for deep listening and amplifying family voice and family strength. They are valued. Team-based care enhances the care we provide to families and the care we provide to each other. Team-based care is not just about delegating labor or optimizing efficiencies. It is not traditional well child care divided up by more people. It is a holistic approach that addresses the multidimensional needs of children and families. It is a model of care that allows for more connection, counters feelings of isolation for families and for us. It is a relationship-based dynamic that supports the care team's well-being. And the immense value of team-based care can best be explained by something called the parallel process. This is a concept that we use in our Promoting First Relationships curriculum, which you heard about earlier in this presentation. Providers may use something that's called a parallel process to acknowledge and understand the parent's feelings and needs, so then that parent in turn can acknowledge and understand their child's feelings and needs. Parents need to feel safe, seen, and valued in order for them to have capacity to provide this for their young children. And in the same way, programs can provide support to the healthcare team in ways that mirror the supports that healthcare professionals provide to the parents. This support goes both ways. The emotional connection between babies and toddlers and their caregivers' experience also brings meaning, purpose, and joy to our own lives and work. This is the parallel process that the healthcare team needs to sustain this difficult work. And the value of our relationships with our navigator team, like Daisy and Jamila and the Child Haven team, it is the cornerstone of this work. Our navigator team is the soft landing that we need after a difficult encounter. They remind us to breathe. They say, remember to take care of yourself. They say, you are not alone. They say, we see you. You're safe here, and you matter. To hear more about sustaining this work through a team-based care approach from a provider's perspective, I'd like to now introduce Dr. Christina Pease, a pediatrician from CMAR's Seattle Medical Clinic and our most recent clinic to join this partnership.
Thank you very much, Kathy. My name again is Christina Pease, and I have been a pediatrician at CMAR, Seattle Medical's clinic, for the past 10 years, where we serve primarily Spanish-speaking immigrants from Central and South America. I work at the original CMAR clinic based in our South Park neighborhood, right between Boeing Field and West Seattle. We now have 2 Child Haven navigators, Maria Gutierrez and Yesenia Martin, and they joined our care team this past fall. I wanted to share a bit more about my own journey personally as a pediatric provider and how this collaboration has really fueled hope in tough times for myself. I have lived through and still feel what many have called terrible, horrible, no good, extremely, very, very bad days. I have this book at my desk. I hear from many in all disciplines, especially our children's teachers, that they feel the same way. And more recently, I've come to understand what I struggle with most days working at CMAR is moral injury. At times, I feel exhausted, and it's more than just burned out. I feel helpless and hopeless. We meet families day in, day out who struggle to keep a roof over their head, keep food in their children's mouths, and they also face incredible discrimination and inequities in all aspects of their lives. How then does one promote healthy development and ask families to do yet more, all within a 15-minute well child check? And how does one fulfill our own purpose and calling while remaining afloat for ourselves and our own families. These partnerships really, truly have changed my career. We are, I believe, at a tipping point. We have to do things better and differently for ourselves and also the families we serve. So I believe through all this that I, as a provider, have felt safe, seen, and valued, just as you've heard, within very, very siloed systems. And this has grounded me and put wind in my sails post-COVID. So the story of relationships and partnerships that we're sharing with you today has been, like I told you, a dream come true over many years. And I now feel my creativity and faith in the art of practicing pediatric medicine reignited. What you heard here and how long it took to kind of put this together is a process, and it really is true collaboration. It's not easy. But as such, I've been able to forge further forward with some efforts I started a few years ago at CMAR to get as many of our patients kindergarten ready. In a city with so many resources, my hands feel most tied when we're trying to help our most vulnerable, our youngest neuroatypical children living in families who already have economic and language barriers. Specialty centers have 2 to 3 year long wait lists to get a child a diagnosis of autism. My Spanish-speaking families are even less likely to get a diagnosis early when it matters, and truly matters prior to starting kindergarten. And in order to address these major gaps in diagnosis and care, there is a shift in our state. General practice providers can be certified by the Healthcare Authority as what we call COEs, Centers of Excellence, to diagnose and prescribe Medicaid reimbursable ABA. In 2019, I certified as an autism COE provider. And initially doing this in 15 to 30-minute appointment slots, not feasible. And one truly, I found, has to connect and be present with a family to discuss what can often sadly be a very stigmatized diagnosis. So now in 2023, when there is a concern for possible autism in a child, I can rely on my 2 navigators to connect with families where they are at, support them in navigating early support for infants and toddlers, as you heard, for birth to 3, the Child Find School programs, which are more difficult to navigate for kids ages 3 up until 5, and all the speech, occupational therapy, ABA, physical therapy services that they would benefit from. And then that then allows me to connect with those early intervention organizations, the schools, the special ed teams, the therapists, to truly get multidisciplinary input in order to proceed or not proceed with an autism diagnosis. And as a larger care team extending out of CMAR and into the community, we can then journey with the family as they either embrace an autism diagnosis or not. And in their short time at CMAR, Maria and Yesenia have advocated for so many of these families facing really heartbreaking situations of discrimination and inability to access needed services. They have created a space and centered what these caregivers want and feel comfortable with. And together, they work to make them feel safe, seen, and valued. And all this is done in the hope to optimize opportunities for the children we serve in a meaningful way that resonates with the family, not just with my agenda to say this child has autism. So my navigators, my medical assistants, my clinic staff partners, they're there with me holding the load every day in the moment, my colleagues here. And all the colleagues you've just heard from, my navigators and the navigators at other sites, they're there to reflect on all the work that we do in all our different settings. And then I have my partners in the Echo Autism world that help me on my journey, as well as all the community organizations in the schools. So we are slowly making that cultural shift to really value the relationships we have with each other, in the community, and with the families. So we can go where they need to go. And we're not just checking off boxes, making problem lists, and then I do feel we have to, and we can, and we are doing this work better, but there's a lot to be done. So you've heard a lot of how we really try to center families, and we're continuing to do this, and we have more to do to make this better. But families do have the knowledge and the experience to guide us for what is best for them, and we need to listen better. So this started, as you heard, with Abby at Harborview, where they adapted their screening tool, the Survey for Wellbeing for Young Children, to the Somali culture, and that took a lot of work and a lot of time. You heard from Brisa very vulnerably sharing her difficulty of not knowing how to speak up when not knowing what all these screening tools meant for her child. And then this multi-site collaboration has also partnered this past year with an investigator at Seattle Children's, Kendra Lindquist, and we're working with the department and trying to involve as many partners as possible. But with Kendra, our navigators facilitated several Somali and Spanish-speaking groups to find out what caregivers need and what they want for their children. And so we'll keep those conversations going and through this coming year. So at CMAR, 1 year into our new program, we've just completed some written surveys as well as some phone interviews with families to gauge how we're doing and what we can do better. This is a link that you can find on the Seattle Children's YouTube channel, a recent project I completed in partnership with Seattle Children's Autism Center and Kindering, which is another amazing community early childhood organization. And these 11 videos address various common questions, barriers you'll hear from Spanish-speaking families and providers all over Washington who live and support children with autism. They'll probably put the link in the chat or send it out later. Cool. So as you've heard, core to our collaboration and future directions will be families. So it's not just surveying and interviewing, but we really need our next steps to identify and incorporate parent leaders, so they're involved in our hiring process, but also to help develop these programs and adapt. Once a month, as you heard, or twice a month, we meet all together at our different sites and keep learning new topics, finding new partners. And we're also envisioning new roles for many of our sites and clinics. We're also looking to build more partnerships and identify sustainable funding for these efforts. So we really thank you for joining and to listen to our story of our journey together. We hope you can find some inspiration that we can and we have to do things better. We have to break down these silos within our own organizations, but also within our medical and educational communities. And there's a lot of support out there. There's a lot of people doing a lot of great work, and families know what they need. We need to give them the space to be able to share that with us. So by focusing on well-being through relationships, which is key to what we're trying to get across, you've heard that can help us in our own lives, our patients' lives, our colleagues' lives. And I do see tremendous potential, but it doesn't just happen. Before we continue with a good 15 minutes for questions, discussions, we wanted to leave us with something concrete we can do. So in lieu of doing the land acknowledgement at the beginning, we opted to do it at the end. We have a ton more to learn about and connect to the people who are on the land we now call home and work on. Through this website, also likely put in the chat, you can find out which Native peoples lived on the land we now claim as home. And there are hidden stories all over. I encourage us to try and find that mural, the cultural center, maybe try reading some new different books. And it is upon us to learn the history of the land we live on so we can work to reverse some of the harm that has been inflicted. So a huge thank you. And we have a good 15 minutes, not just for questions, but any discussion, reflection, and you can ask any of us.
Wow. Thank you so much to all of you. For people, don't be shy. For people who have questions in the room, raise your hand. We ask you to use the microphone because there's like 110 people online who are also listening to what we say, and they can't hear it without the microphone. And then if you are online, there's a few comments already, and I will make sure to have some time for those too. But we can start if anyone in the room has a question or comment for our speakers. It's so hard to be the first one. Okay, I see one.
Yeah, I just wanted to say I really appreciate the sort of like cultural navigator, especially that really resonated with me because my mom, well, I'm originally from Brazil and my family's from Brazil, and so growing up like in South Florida, she always like really expressed how like difficult it was to communicate with the pediatrician who didn't speak Spanish or English. And so like eventually she worked her way to a pediatrician that's at least spoke Spanish who can kind of understand Portuguese. But just to really say that I think it's a really helpful person to kind of like mediate and help families truly understand what is going on in a pediatric like visit and like relay their concerns, questions. So I think that that's like a very valuable resource and hope to maybe have that more accessible for like all families that need it. So thank you very much for that. I really appreciate that.
Thank you. Thank you for your perspective.
Thank you. Welcome. Tom Brogan. I've missed this so much.
I'd just like to start by thanking you all. That was really exceptional. And as an ICU doc, I feel like, boy, it'd be nice to have, because I'm sure we create all these interesting patients that just go away. But that's another story. I wondered if you have a, like, because it seems like there's sort of a start date to all of your efforts. Do you have a pre and post kind of like how many people get referred for developmental screening and things like that? Because I think that'd be really interesting, because it seems like that's what you could push toward the people who have money, which I wish I was one of those people, because I give it to you, but I don't.
I can take this one. Thanks, Tom, for the question. Each of our clinic sites sort of approaches it slightly different with whether it's universal or particular families. The screening part at Harborview, as I mentioned, our screening rate prior to starting this project was around 20% of families, and most of those families spoke English. So our screening rates since starting this project have been above 96%. So we're really reaching a lot of families. And then we do have some numbers served at Harborview in particular. We've served 1,300 individual children whose families speak greater than 38 unique languages. So when we started the project, there was a lot of suggestions to just sort of pick like major language groups, and it was really important to us that this was inclusive of all languages. So we feel really proud of all the different families that we have taken care of. And then the part about actually getting people evaluated and enrolled in services, we were around 41%, and now it is consistently been 80 to 90% of families across our clinic sites who get the desired outcome that they want. And so some of that is a family decides that they don't want the referral, but that opportunity has been given to them. Someone has talked to them about the program. They like understand that and are making the choice to do that. And so those are our main kind of pre-post outcomes in terms of numbers. And then with our caregiver surveys and our qualitative interviews, we really heard from families three kind of main categories that were most important to them. So 25 qualitative interviews, really the sharing language and culture, which I think we all know, but actually achieving that within our team. And then facilitating accessibility, families valued. And then really this part of not just like focusing on what's wrong with your kid or diagnosing delay, but someone like talking about development and celebrating it with you was important to families. So thanks for the question. And I think kind of evaluation and showing to people the complexity of this work and like the relationships matter as much as the numbers. And I think this takes more money, it takes more time, it takes a lot of people to make the team. I think we're still working on and learning from others.
Thank you all so much. Molly Groh here, and huge fans of you all and this incredibly inspiring work. I think I also just wanted to shout out that our Rising Chief residents made a really big effort to promote this Grand Rounds, and the attendance from the residents prioritizing getting here in the morning when things are really busy is awesome. So excited that so many people made it, especially to hear such a wonderful talk that just really celebrates such inspiring work in our community. So thank you all for putting this together and working so hard to share it. My question is related to the kind of silos that we oftentimes experience in communicating with our colleagues and partners supporting families in the educational realm, both in the preschool and kind of Head Start space, as well as once children are in school. And I'm curious if there are places that you have been able to leverage more partnership with those who are helping support families. I think that's remains a lifelong goal of mine as a pediatrician, to be able to see us have more coordination and support, so that we don't feel like we're seeing people so separately in the education and in the medical fields.
So no, that's huge, and I think the beauty of this is we each came with our different partnerships, so we do a lot of that at our learning collaborative in inviting and finding out. So, the ultimate national movement for Help Me Grow, trying to have some centralized place, right, is out there. Washington State has those efforts. Pierce County had a grant to do it. So each county, each city, each school district has their different things, but I think it's joining the conversation. I think we're all on different committees, different things. So it's, we don't want to over duplicate, but, organizations such as Within Reach right now are kind of trying to do some of that, but it's not just one organization doing. So it's, I think, upon us to just keep the conversations going. I think, but I've found a lot of value in geographically partnering with the early support agencies that my families go to. So Children's Therapy Center, Kindering. So we're inviting them. Odessa Brown now has moved further south, so we share a lot of that geographic location. Our navigators have a lot of contacts that they've shared with each other with the school districts. So we're identifying, we're working to identify Spanish speakers to kind of teach us, so speech language pathologists in a school, like our neighborhood South Park school, to say, yes, these are the barriers. This child clearly has delays but doesn't qualify for services, but with an autism diagnosis, yes, would. And so partnering with them, I get their information. So it's key. It's key. And I think King County, my experience has been, it's a plethora of wealth and well-intentioned. But the more, if you start on some journey of connecting, I think the more we can just talk. So, nobody wants to reinvent the wheel, but in a way you kind of do for your own site and your own community. But yeah, reach out, because I think, different networks. So no easy answer, but yes, agreed.
Hi, I'm Corvin Neal. I'm a pediatrician at CMAR, and I just want to say thanks for describing this awesome program and sharing your great work. I just wanted to share that as a pediatrician who now, in the last year, has worked with navigators from this program, I feel like my patients and me are finally being supported in getting families what they need and kids what they need in this infant, toddler, preschool time. And it's just wonderful when the navigators come and close the loop with me on a patient that I've referred somewhere. And for the first time, I really feel like what I'm doing in well child care matters to these families, and they're getting what they need. So thank you.
I see my chat blowing up, so I'm going to ask a few questions from there. I see your hand too. Let's see. Oh, wow. One of the funders for this work has been Best Starts for Kids, and SKCPH has been involved in that manner. Scaling would be great with fidelity to the model and learning. I think that's in regards to the earlier question. I'm curious about how much collaboration or infrastructure support happened in coordination with public health, and if there's a model there for scaling this work, or if this was more a unique fostered relationship between HMC, PEDS, and Child Haven.
I think that's what, hi everyone. Hi everyone, I'm Rachel Dumani and I work with Child Haven, and this
wonderful team, and I get to be involved on kind of the project management and program development side of this, as well as support our navigators across sites as a supervisor of their wonderful work. And we have some other Child Haven team members online who are helping to respond to the chat, including John Gould. So yes, one of our major funders of this work, both in getting it started and sustaining it up to this point, has been Best Starts for Kids, which is funded by a tax levy in the county. And so Public Health King County is one of those departments that issues Best Starts for Kids program. So I think that was the response to the question about public health. And so, yes, this is an ongoing, our work is in an ongoing way funded by public grants through departments like Public Health and the Department of Community Human Services, DCHS. And then additionally, a lot of wonderful private grant foundations, and as cited on the earliest slide, but also being sustainably incorporated into healthcare systems as well. So Seattle Children's recently took on funding the work at Odessa Brown Children's Clinic based on a proposal to the OBCC Governance Board, who recognized this as needing to be part of the standard of care for all patients and families at OBCC. So that's part of the recent transition of Jamila and now our newest navigators at OBCC.
Fabulous. Thank you. I'm not going to be able to get to all the questions in the chat, and I think I messed that up. But since it's the last minute, I will finish with this comment from Stephen Lasky, which I think we all agree with. Thank you to all speakers for sharing your stories. We see you, we hear you, and you are valued. And thank you for highlighting the value of a model like this that brings to everyone, patients, providers, and systems of care. So thank you so much to all of you for all of your hard work and for everyone for being here today. We really appreciate your time.